I found a new AI tool and I am obsessed. It's completely open source and I use it every day. It's called Fabric. Daniel, tell me what Fabric is.
So basically the goal is to augment humans with AI. So it's all about reducing that friction to be able to use AI for your problems.
That's Daniel Miessler, the creator of Fabric. Reducing friction so that you can use AI to solve your problems. That's the real purpose of technology and AI. And that's what this project Fabric is helping us do. I legit use this every day, and I think you might too. So in this video, we're gonna break down what Fabric is, and I'll show you how to set this up so you can start using it right now. And later in this video, I'll show you how I use Fabric to access my local AI server, Terry, wherever I go, with the sponsor of this video, Twingate. We'll talk more about them later.
Okay, you wanna see something absolutely crazy?
Yes, Daniel, I do. Get your coffee ready. Let's do this. Now, before we dive too deep, I want to give you a feel for what using Fabric is kind of like. Like, what's the use case? What would I use this for? This, you're gonna love. Watch this. Let's say I've got a YouTube video, this 2-hour interview that maybe I don't have time to watch. So I'll grab the link. And on my command line, I'll use the tool YT-transcript and paste the link. And this is gonna grab the transcript of that YouTube video. By the way, this is a tool that's built into Fabric. That alone makes this thing amazing. And then I'll pipe that over into Fabric. 2-hour YouTube video, here we go. Within moments, I'm told about David Bumble and everything we discuss in this video. The ideas, insights, quotes, like this one. Man, who said that? Smart guy. So within a few moments, I took a 2-hour YouTube interview and extracted all the wisdom and insights I need to know. That's crazy, right? So what's happening here? What is Fabric doing? Let's break that down. First, we start off with some kind of text. In this case, a YouTube transcript. It really could be anything. And then Fabric will send this text, in this case our YouTube transcripts, off to your favorite AI. It could be models from OpenAI, Anthropic, or even local models with Ollama, which again, I will show you how to access a local server from anywhere using Twingate here in a bit. Now, looking at the command, it's not just sending the transcript by itself. Here you go, AI. It's using this thing called extract wisdom. What is that? This is the secret sauce behind Fabric and something you should get pretty excited about. Daniel, tell us more about it.
What I've done is take any piece of AI from any platform that is interesting, and usually the language that I care about is actually prompts, right? So what we started doing is collecting all these prompts into this concept called patterns.
A set of instructions or a way to get the AI to do what we want it to do. Now, this is not a new concept. Prompt engineering is a thing, but this, it's a bit different. Different in 2 ways that I am a big fan of. They're open source and they're crowdsourced. Now, I'll be the first to admit that's kind of a weird concept for a prompt, but here's why it's cool. First, these prompts or patterns, we'll just call them patterns from now on, have been carefully curated, created, manipulated, added to do exactly what it's designed to do, to solve a problem, a very specific problem. And it's everyone, including maybe you, that helps create these prompts to make them better. Now let's take a look at this one in particular because I love this one, extract wisdom. You'll really get a feel for what I'm talking about here. And this is the other cool part about this, it's open source, so you can actually see this system prompt. Normally when you're interacting with GPTs, you can't see the actual prompt being sent to the AI. Here, we're controlling that, we're part of that. And I wanna show you this one part, I think this will illustrate what I'm talking about. Look at how this prompt talks to the AI. Take a step back, think step by step, think deeply. It kind of sounds like he's talking to this AI like a human. And that's exactly the case. Even Daniel said,
You're basically telling it to act like a human.
We don't know why it works, but just talking to these AI like they're humans elicits a better response, better results. Kind of scary, do with that what you will. But I point that out to say that these prompts have been tested time and time again, added to, similar to what you would see with open source code. And this is just one pattern. Look over here on the side. Look at all of these that have been created. And you don't have to stop there. You can create your own, which I've done that, and oh my gosh, that's the secret. It's so amazing. But hold on, you might be like me and think, this kind of seems just like fancy prompts. What is this thing actually doing that I can't just do with ChatGPT? I want to revisit this idea. Fabric is all about reducing friction to have AI help you solve problems. And one of the areas of friction I didn't even realize I had was the fact that I had to keep going out to ChatGPT, open up a web interface, load up maybe a custom GPT or start having a conversation. And it didn't feel like a lot of time, but that is time. It gets in the way. Fabric, and this is one of the reasons I fell in love with it, is CLI native. You do everything here in the CLI, which I get may or may not excite you, but you're not limited to that. Daniel Miessler touches more on that.
What I'm trying to do is make the on-ramp to using these things as easy as possible. So I want to be able to use them via voice. I want to be able to use them via command line, via like a GUI app. I want to be able to just access them as quickly as possible. So that's like the main thrust of this project, is to collect problems collect the solutions in the form of these patterns, and then to have as many on-ramps onto them as well.
Now I'll talk more about why I love that it's here in the command line, but it's more than just how you interact with it. Think about how you might use this to build programs. Instead of going through the pain of interfacing with AI APIs, that's kind of hard to say. Actually, it wasn't. Anyways, you can just use Fabric. Now check this out, I want to show you something I did actually yesterday. I'm trying to build my cardiovascular health, so I've started running and rowing. And I track that with the app called Strava, which gets all sorts of amazing data. So I wrote a Python script to interact with their API to pull down all my data. And it looks like this, a bunch of messy JSON. But I created a pattern called workout summary, and it takes care of the JSON for me. Or I can just bake Fabric right inside my Python script. And that's just a simple example. This thing is crazy. Now we're about to set this up, but I want to talk about one more thing. It's called a world of text. And it's a concept that I'm really adopting now. Thank you to Daniel Miessler. Go ahead and tell him, Daniel, about this world of text.
20 years ago, I got into this guy named David Allen, who basically said, never, ever store anything in your brain. Immediately capture. What I do now is I capture a concept or a structure for an essay or something. I capture it immediately in a note. And now that it's text, and because I'm fairly proficient with Vim and the terminal, my whole world is text and the ability to manipulate text. And I have all my notes in text. And when I record something that's actually sound, I immediately transcribe it, send it to Notion. And so it's also in text. So now I have this world of text that I could use. And now I have this AI infrastructure that manipulates text using AI to get results that help us as humans.
So it's about getting everything into a text format so it can be used anywhere by anything, especially AI. And notice, when I run these commands, like getting this YouTube transcript, it's outputting this in markdown format, so it can play nice pretty much wherever it goes, especially my notes application, Obsidian. Now we'll touch more on the philosophy of why I think this is amazing, and I'll show you a few more patterns I've been working with. But now, let's get you set up. Let's get Fabric on your computer right now. And by the way, if you want to see the full Daniel Miessler interview where we talk about a ton of other stuff from like cybersecurity, AI scares, to just bonding over coffee because we both love coffee, I'll have that full interview on NetworkChuck Academy. Just check that out. Anyways, what do we need? Honestly, just a computer. Now, as I mentioned before, this is command line world. And this is going to be a Linux-based or Unix-based system. But we're not leaving out anybody here. You got a Mac, it works great on Mac. In fact, Daniel Miessler, all he does is use Mac. He loves it. Linux, of course, if you use Linux as your main desktop, you'll have a good time. And then Windows, which is what I use, WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux. So it'll work everywhere you have Linux, and Linux is everywhere. What a time to be alive, right? Coffee break for that. Coffee break. The setup and install is actually really fast. I'm gonna set up a new machine here in WSL on my Windows machine. You don't have to do this unless you don't already have one. And then best practice, just go ahead and do a sudo apt update to update your repos. And go ahead and run a sudo apt upgrade if you haven't already. Now on Mac, you don't have to do that. Just make sure you have your system updates and you'll be golden. Now let's install Fabric. Mac, Windows, Linux, we're all following along right now. First, we'll just copy and paste this command, cloning the Fabric project from GitHub. If we type in ls, there's the Fabric project right there. We'll go ahead and jump in there, cd Fabric. And then to install everything, we'll use a tool called pipx, but we'll have to install pipx first. Now on Mac and Windows with WSL, we'll do a sudo apt install pipx. If you're on Mac, you'll want to use a tool called Brew. Brew is an amazing utility, and I think package manager that enables you to install a ton of things, and you should have it on your Mac. So install Brew first, if you don't already have it, and then with the command brew, say brew install pipx. Again, that's Mac only. I'll go ahead and install pipx. Yep. And now we'll install Fabric with pipx. Simply type in pip. I've been saying pipx a lot. It's making me feel weird. Anyways, pipx install dot. And that should be it. Ready, set, go. And done. We have all these tools installed. I do have a note from me saying that my path variables aren't correct. I'll just run this command real quick. You might have to do the same thing. Pipx ensure path. Done. And now Fabric is almost ready to go. We'll just need to run one command. Fabric -- setup. Oh wait, I gotta refresh my terminal. If you're in Linux, you'll do source, tilde or library sign, whatever you wanna call that, .bash rc. If you're on Mac, it'll be zsh-rc, if you're using zsh as your default. And now we should be able to do Fabric -- setup. And what this will do is ask you for a couple things. Your OpenAI API key, if you wanna use GPT-4 and all those other models, and also your Anthropic API key to use the Claude models. Now what that means is yes, you will need an API key. So if you don't already have one, go get one. I'll put a link down below showing you how to do that. I'm gonna grab mine real quick and I'll paste that there. And then my Claude API key, which is the Anthropic API key. And then one more thing, it's gonna want your YouTube API key. So when you are going out to YouTube to pull those transcripts from videos, you can even do comments. It will use a Google YouTube API key. Those are free to set up. Again, I'll have a link below to show you how to do that. And once you've added your API keys, that's it. Now you may be wondering, Chuck, why do we have to do that? Well, remember, Fabric is just a framework. It itself is not AI. It will use whatever favorite AI you have. Now that does mean that if you're using OpenAI or Anthropic, you're gonna have to pay for that usage. And it's a pay-as-you-go thing. Put your credit card in there. Most of the time, it does end up being cheaper than just paying for like ChatGPT, the Pro. But just keep that in mind. Now, if you don't wanna pay anything, and you don't wanna give any data to anybody, ever, there's local LLMs as well, which Fabric just added. Thank you, Daniel. So if you have Ollama installed, or Ollama installed on a remote server, like I do on Terry, we can type in Fabric and do -- list models. And right here are the available local models. I'll grab a YouTube video. This one by Peter McKinnon I've been meaning to watch. I'll just grab the summary. And then with Fabric, I'll do a -- model to specify a certain model. In my case, it'll be Llama 3 : latest. Then I'll do -sp to specify the pattern, which will be extract wisdom. And just like that, I'm using a local model. Now, if I want to use a bigger model, like Llama 3 7dB, that's not going to run on my local computer, but it will run on Terry. So to connect to a remote AI server, specify remote Ollama server, put the IP address in of your remote server. This is Terry. Specify the model, Llama 3 7dB, and then your pattern. Now, I'm not sure about the whole Alex and Jordan thing, but that's how you do it. And when I'm away from Terry, when I'm out of the office, remote somewhere, I still want to talk to him. And here's how I do it. When I'm working remote, out and about, as I normally do, I gotta make sure I can run my Fabric commands and access Terry wherever I am. Right now, it's not gonna work. I'm getting nothing. That's where Twingate comes in, my favorite way to remotely access my stuff back at home, my office, my studio, everything. Setting up Twingate is pretty stinking easy. Easier than standing in a field. What was that? All you have to do is set up a free Twingate account, create a network, and then deploy your connector. It could be a Docker container on a Raspberry Pi in your house, or running on your Synology NAS, like I do at my home. And within a few minutes, you got remote access to everything you want to, like now. Lightning strikes. Nah, I'm good. Wildlife? Maybe. What was that? But seriously, wherever I go, wherever I am, are there hidden holes? I can remotely access my stuff back at home, including Terry, my AI server. Twingate is special because they use all the latest and greatest technologies to make sure your connection is fast, including Quick, one of the new internet protocols that is blazingly fast. And with Twingate, you can control exactly what your people have access to. All my employees, I don't want you using Terry when you're away from the office, but you can log into the server and work. I'll allow that. So if you want to use my remote access solution, check it out, link below. I've been using it for over a year and it's my favorite way to remotely access everything. I even did it when I was in Japan too. It worked great. All right, I'm getting out of here. Now let's get a bit more advanced and break down some Fabric stuff. First, you don't have to just give it stuff, like copy and paste from a YouTube transcript or something to work with Fabric. You can ask a basic question, like watch this. I can echo saying, give me a list of all ice creams flavors and what year they originated. Actually, I'm pretty curious about that. I'll pipe that into Fabric, and we'll break this down a bit. So far, we've been using the command, or the switch, SP. That's a combined switch. Let's split them up so we can talk about it. So -S and -P. -S is for stream. And when we use that switch, we're telling it to go ahead and output whatever the AI says as it's saying it. Stream it to us. P is for specifying the pattern. So right after you put P, you put the pattern you want to use. And we'll just say the pattern AI, which is a specific pattern just allowing us to talk with AI. It just told me no. You can't do that, AI. Exceeds practical limits. You exceed practical limits. I'm just kidding. Let's try something more easy. There we go, now we're talking. And by the way, when I use Fabric without specifying a model, it defaults to using OpenAI in GPT-4 Turbo. If you want to change that, especially if you want to stick to local models, we can do Fabric -- list models to see all our models, and then do Fabric -- change default model, and then specify the model. Now we can also do the command Fabric -- list, just the list, and it will list all the available patterns we have right now. Again, so many things you can play with. Now I want to show you something crazy. As Daniel mentioned before, the theme behind Fabric is very, well, Fabric-y. So you got Fabric, then you've got patterns. If you want to run a server, which does some fun stuff I'm not going to cover right now, it's called a mill. But you can also do what's called stitching, which allows you to stitch patterns together. So let's try this. I've got this article this long read about that YouTuber Poppy. Do you remember her? Is she still around? She's crazy. It's a super long read. I'm just gonna copy and paste everything and put this into Fabric. PB paste, Fabric. And by the way, I know you're probably wondering, Chuck, how are you doing that? What is this PB paste thing? This is built in by default into Macs. So if you have a Mac, just enjoy it. On WSL and Linux, it's harder to do. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. And if I run out of time, I'll show you somewhere else. Anyways, we'll paste that in there. And I'll use the prompt summarize. So summarize the article. And then I'll pipe that result into another Fabric command, or stitch it. And this pattern will be write essay. Actually, I'll do a -s so we can see that streamed in. And go. Now Fabric, while it's doing this thing, just think about what it's doing right now. First, it's gonna summarize the entire article. Then it's gonna kick its summary over to the write essay pattern. That's powerful. This is crazy, writing an essay. We can also do a thing where we analyze the claims of the article. This is not stitching, I just wanna see what happens. Analyze claims. I mean, this is just cool. Again, these prompts, crowdsourced, open sourced, they've been meddled with and messed with to make them perfect. And they're not perfect, I mean, they're still gonna be worked on, improved. You can also do one called label and rate, giving it a quality score, saying it's B tier, consume when time allows. This is another superpower of Fabric, and the idea and the mentality it's bringing to AI and how you might approach your life. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. I don't want to dive too deep. But now I want to show you how you can create your own patterns. Because right now we're using what's built in default, just there. So I'll show you how you can approach writing a pattern and then getting it into Fabric so you can use it. Keeping in mind that when you write a pattern, it remains local to you. It doesn't get uploaded to the Fabric repository, and none of that's happening unless you want to submit it. That's up to you. Everything's still private. But when I first started trying to write patterns, I didn't really know how to do it. So I would just go and like pick one of my favorite ones, extract wisdom, and just kind of modify it, which is absolutely a great way to do it. But then I found this. There's a pattern. There's a pattern for everything. See, a pattern means solving a problem. There's a pattern called improve prompt that basically does everything for you. It's crazy. So check this out. We'll do it real quick. We'll echo something and say we'll just try to write our own prompt real quick, but messy, dirty. And by the way, this is a real example of how I wanted to, and I talked with Daniel about this, how I wanted to digest sermons better. I go to church every Sunday. Sometimes I'm serving in the nursery, taking care of babies, and I miss the sermon. Now, I rarely have time to go back and watch the sermon throughout the week. So if I could just somehow digest it like this, that'd be amazing. But I wanted to create a pattern that would look for specific things unique to a sermon. So let's try this. All right, so I'll pipe that out to Fabric, and I'll do the pattern improve prompt. That's crazy, right? This is so cool. So this is just live off the cuff. I'm gonna take this, copy it. So now I've got my instruction, and I'm gonna go to the place where our patterns live. Here's where they live. We'll go to CD, we'll do .config/fabric. Type in ls here. We can see we have a directory for patterns. That's the patterns that Fabric will use. And then we have a directory called my patterns, which is what I created. So go ahead and make that for yourself right now. We'll do a make directory, mkdir. Let's call it my super awesome patterns. I'll jump in there. And then to create our new pattern, we'll make a new directory. Call it sermon sensei. Is that how you spell sensei?
Nope.
We'll cd in there. And we'll make a new file called system.md. Do nano system.md. Jump in there and I'll paste the contents of that pattern. Control X, Y, enter to save. So to summarize what we just did, we created a directory to house our custom patterns. And inside that directory, we made a new directory, creating a new pattern, sermon sensei, and we created a file called system.md, which is the system prompt to the actual contents of the pattern. Now, the reason we created our own super awesome special directory is that often patterns will be updated because, again, this is open sourced, crowdsourced. Patterns are always being improved. And if they're in the repo, you'll want to update your patterns. So we might do this, fabric --update, and that will update your patterns. But it will overwrite anything that doesn't belong in there. So we're keeping our custom patterns inside my super awesome patterns. That way they're never deleted. But to make sure they can be used by Fabric when we run our commands, we do need to copy everything into the patterns folder. So we'll do that real quick. We'll simply do copy or cp-r. We'll specify our directory, our home directory symbol, /.config/fabric/ your directory. So mine is super awesome, my super awesome patterns. We'll do the asterisk to make sure all the folders and stuff are copied just so into our patterns directory. Config, fabric, patterns. Just like that. So now if we do fabric --list to list our patterns, I should see sermon sensei right there. Notice I have another one called Sermon Wisdom, which I had previously created. Now let's test out Sermon Sensei. I'm gonna grab the sermon from my church, one of our recent ones. Do YT, grab that transcript, put the URL there, and then pipe that into Fabric using my Sermon Sensei pattern I just created. Now this is pretty cool, and honestly I think it needs some work. So just like the open source patterns in the Fabric repo, you can work on yours and keep iterating. So like the one I really enjoy is the one I created, Sermon Wisdom, that I think does a better job. And that really does demonstrate the power of a really, really good prompt. I mean, I love how it pulls out quotes, probably one of my favorite things. And then what's killer is the references, pulling out all the scripture things he mentioned in the sermon. I love that. Now looking back at Fabric, if we type in Fabric --help, we can see there are options we haven't mentioned yet. We're not gonna go over all of them. But one thing I do wanna touch on is the idea of a context. I'll let Daniel talk about that real quick.
This is the latest thing that I've been working on. Under .config Fabric, we now have a context file. My context file is about increasing human flourishing by helping people identify, articulate, and pursue their purpose in life. Helping people transition to Human 3.0, to be our best selves. This is literally my soul that I'm translating into text.
I haven't done this yet, but I want to make a context for myself soon. Now I've got 2 more features I want to show you. The PB paste option for Linux users and the ability to save anything you create with Fabric to Obsidian, my favorite notes application, what I use and what I've been obsessing over for a while now. Oh, it's so cool, I just found this. But before we get there, I want to talk more about the philosophy behind Fabric and why it's kind of captured my imagination and why I feel like it's more than just a fancy prompter. Now to understand that, I think we need to know a bit more about Daniel Miessler. Daniel Miessler is a hacker. That's his background. That's what he did and still does.
And the reason I created it is because I basically went independent as of the end of 22. As soon as GPT-4 launched, I was working at Robinhood at the time. I built a VM program over there. Before that, I was at Apple and a bunch of other places. And I had been in AI for 5-6 years. But when I saw GPT-4 happen, I was like, okay, I'm out. I basically got out and said, I need to do this full time. So I started collecting all this different AI stuff, as I'm sure everyone has seen. And what I found after a couple of months is okay, I've got a million different prompts now. What do I actually do with them, right? What I started doing is collecting them into an infrastructure that I could use personally. And this is a little bit before Fabric, but it became the content for Fabric. And essentially what it turns into is these patterns here.
And you can tell just by using these patterns that this is the result of many, many iterations. It does things so well. And if you've been using AI for a while, again, you know what it feels like to use a really good prompt and have your results be so clean and almost exactly what you were looking for, or even more than what you expected. And that's so fun. Now I want to get back to the idea of human flourishing, because again, that is the goal of the Fabric project. And honestly, when you hear that, it kind of captures your imagination, right? I love, because for me, I don't know if you're like this, but the more AI advances, the more I get just a little bit more scared of where my place in the world might be. But when I hear about projects like Fabric, where it's not about replacing humans, but about augmenting humans, to help us become better, to help us think better, and to help us consume more content. And that's one of the main things that Daniel uses this tool for. One of the main reasons he created this tool is that there's so much content being produced all the time, from YouTube videos to podcasts to articles. Just staying relevant in your space, in your niche, takes a tremendous amount of time you don't have to consume things.
A big part of it is I'm using it to determine what I should go watch regularly. And in fact, I'm actually building a product around that called, I won't say what it's called, but I'm building a product around that. So just because I need it in my life. Essentially, I'm using it as a filter to determine what I should go watch. And then I go watch it fully, and oftentimes I take manual notes. But I watch or listen to it in its entirety, and then I go and take notes on it, and it spawns thoughts. So I'm not stepping away and disengaging. I'm still reading massive number of books, right? I'm still watching the videos. I'm still reading the essays. What this is helping me do is just filter out or filter up or raise attention to the particular stuff that I want to watch.
So a big way he uses Fabric is to filter out what is good, what deserves a long watch, or what doesn't, what just needs to be summarized and quickly digested. And it's so cool because the way he created Fabric and a lot of these prompts is he designed these prompts, these patterns, in a way that is meant to mimic the way he would approach something, the way he would watch a video and take notes, the way he would listen to a podcast and take notes. It's kind of crazy.
My very first thing that I made for Fabric is the ability to emulate as if I took slow notes on a piece of content by hand. And that's what this emulates.
Now, a little story time. The past 6 months, I've been on a journey of being very particular, very intentional with what I consume, how I spend my time, and writing down as many things as I can. Taking good notes, processing things. And that led me to my question I asked Daniel, and that's, if we start using things like Fabric, AI tools, to do the processing and thinking for us, do we lose that value? So the curmudgeon in me, the old man in me is like, don't do the AI stuff. It's gonna keep you from becoming a deep thinker and learning how to really analyze things. But here's what Daniel said about this.
Yeah, I think the way to use it is to use the context stuff that we're starting to build now that's already in the project, and basically define what you're trying to do. You can define inside of the context, I need to learn this much about these topics. Recommend to me the best courses to do that with. And then when you take a piece of content and it's like overwhelming, you could put it through Fabric and essentially distill it down. And importantly, it could tell you what not to distill down, because there's so much advantage to, going back to your earlier point, you don't want to take the weights out of the gym. So everything shouldn't be a summary. Sometimes you have to put the hard work in, but you can use it to tell you or advise you or recommend to you which things you should do slow and painful and difficult, because that's where you get the most muscle growth.
Don't take the weights out of the gym. So he'll use Fabric to help him determine what should be slowly watched and processed. We saw that earlier with the label and rate pattern. It tells you like, oh yeah, you gotta watch this right now, or you can wait on that. Again, it's not about replacing humans, replacing you. It's about making you better, about taking your current capabilities and using AI to increase that at a faster rate than you could before. It's about identifying a problem that you might have and then creating a pattern to help you solve that problem. And all the patterns you're seeing there that are built into Fabric are a result of, okay, I've got this problem, here's a pattern that can fix it. And you can do the same thing for your life. And we talked a bit about a feedback loop, to where I may have Fabric, I'll create a pattern for this, that'll look over my journal entries throughout the week. And then it'll tell me, maybe you didn't read enough that week and that's why you're feeling sad. Or hey, you're feeling fantastic because you ran 4 times this week. Keep doing that. It's that kind of augmentation that I'm really excited about. And that's where I see myself growing with Fabric. And I literally use this all the time for so many things. Me and Daniel also talked about how we both started recording conversations. Like any conversation we have with a sibling, a friend, a spouse, record it. Then transcribe it with Whisper AI, which is, you can use it locally. It's free. And then pipe that into Fabric. Now, I actually started doing this recently with, we have a weekly Bible study. We have a core group of people where we meet and we talk about our lives and things and tell funny stories and talk about what we're learning and going through. So I recorded that and I created a pattern that would extract the things I might care about from those moments. Check this out, it's so cool. So I have the recording transcribed. I'll cat that and pipe it into Fabric using my GC analyzer. That's what we call our communities, GC, gospel communities. Now I won't show you everything in this because it's very personal, but I want to show you how cool this is. And honestly, this whole Fabric project is making me rethink about the role of AI in my life. It's here, like it or not. What are you going to use it for? How can you use it to help make you better? And that was like the first video I made ever about AI. ChatGPT came out, I was terrified. But then after processing it a bit more, I'm like, you know what? This is gonna make us better. It's about us. It's about humans flourishing. There was a funny moment about, it was just a funny story about sleepwalking. And it found that. That's so cool. I just did this one. Look at the funny moments here. Yeah, we talk about weird stuff. But I want to remember that stuff. I want to be able to go back to that, search it, have that in my second brain. That's a video coming soon. And again, I talked with Daniel about a lot more stuff, including coffee. So if you want to see that entire talk, that entire conversation, you can check the link below to NetworkChuck Academy, which is my new project, my baby, where I'm creating IT courses to help you become awesome in IT. I would love for you to join. We have an amazing community. Go check it out, link below. Now, the 2 more things I wanted to show you. First, this PB paste thing. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna show you right here. I'm gonna make a video about it. And by the time you watch this video, that one should already be up. So go here somewhere. It's gonna be awesome. Just go ahead and jump there. But now to the Obsidian save thing. This is so awesome. So let's take that same discussion here from my GC analyzer. I can save that directly to Obsidian. There's a command that is baked into Fabric called save, just like this. And what that will do is save the contents of whatever you're doing in Fabric to a note in Obsidian, creating a new note. Now to make that happen, we first have to tell Fabric where our Obsidian lives in our operating system. So if you're new to Obsidian, Obsidian is all about just text-based documents. Again, world of text. All it is just a bunch of markdown files. And it's somewhere on my hard drive. To tell Fabric where that is, I'll just edit an environment file. So I'll go nano, jump into my config folder, Fabric folder, and there should be a file .env for environment variables. Now you can see that's also where our API keys are stored. And here's my path to the directory I want to store new markdown files created by Fabric. With that in place, I want to take away the S option. I don't want to stream it. I'm just going to save this to a file. So I'll pipe it out to the save command, and then I'll just name it and go. And then if I jump into my Obsidian, which we're going to shield most of this from you, if I go to my specific folder, there it is, auto magically. That's killer. Again, it's all about removing friction. This is so amazing. I love this stuff. Let me know if you like this too. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this about new AI tools or just exploring how we can improve ourselves and make ourselves better with the help of AI. I don't know.